next on the agenda is the launch of a faculty fellow endowment in the name of Dr. V. Ramamurthi. The first faculty fellow endowment is being launched today in the name of Dr. V. Ramamurthi. Professor Vishwanatha Ramamurthi was a celebrated teacher, an excellent researcher, an industrial consultant par excellence. He pioneered industrial consultancy in the Department of Applied Mechanics at IIT Madras. Professor Ramamurthi earned his M.Tech degree from IIT Kharagpur in 1963, followed by a PhD in 1970 from IIT Madras. Professor Ramamurthi was a chair of the Department of Applied Mechanics from 1978 to 1981. He continued to be academically active even after his retirement from IIT Madras in 2001. He wrote 4 books on engineering analysis and design, with the second editions indicating the popularity of textbooks. Professor Ramamurthi was a rare gem, a very unique personality who went beyond classroom work to be close to students both in India and abroad. Scholarship, hard work, impeccable moral credentials were his inspirational hallmarks that benefited a whole generation of students in IIT Madras. Professor Ramamurthi had a very close rapport with mechanical engineering B.Tech students and developed lasting ties with them as a mentor. In all, he gathered 25 students for their doctoral degrees and authored more than 185 papers in international journals. Professor Ramamurthi's students have occupied important academic, industrial, and administrative positions across the world. Many students of Dr. Ramamurthi came up with an idea of sponsoring an endowment, Dr. Ramamurthi Faculty Fellow Endowment, to encourage younger faculty among assistant professors, associate professors, and entry-level professors. This evening, we have the pleasure of launching the Faculty Fellow Endowment, thanks to generous contributions from alumni and the family of Dr. Ramamurthi. Dr. Ramamurthi will be remembered as a great teacher, author of technical books and literature, and industrial consultants par excellence. We now formally launch this chart by lighting the lamp. May I now request the family members of Dr. Ramamurthi to come on the stage, please. Mrs. Ramamurthi, Rama Sivaraman, Dr. Anil Kumar, and Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthi, please. All for the honors. Next, I request Professor Anil Kumar to talk about this fellowship.
Thank you, Subbu. And so it gives me great pleasure to basically not only announce this faculty fellow, but also I think it is very important that I point out how we came about setting up this faculty fellow program. First and foremost, I constituted a committee to debate what would be the best way to honor the legacy of Dr. Ramamurthi. The committee consisted of Dr. Kaushik Bhattacharya at Caltech, Dr. Ganesh Subbarayan Shastri at Purdue, Dr. Ravi Tyagarajan at the U.S. Army Research and Development Center, and myself. You see, we are all students of VR in the mid-80s, and as I pointed out in my talk, and on that first picture, VR was kind of a semi-teacher and kind of a semi-friend and a semi-colleague. So there was a kind of a very smooth thing where the distance wasn't there. His age group and everything else was around a play where we could sometimes look at him as a professor based on grading, and sometimes look at him as a friend and based on talking, and sometimes even look at him as a colleague, like when he visited me when I had just become a professor at Vanderbilt University. So this is a very unique setting where how do you honor the legacy of a person? You look at it like blind people touching an elephant, maybe. Each time it looks different, so we have to be very careful here. First, we examined the traditional route that has been set up at IIT Madras to honor successful professors. It's called the Institute Chair. And one thing was to transition this particular program and call it the V. Ramamurthi Institute Chair. But that was kind of like a light scenario for us in the sense that, so how are we going to put in all these other requirements where Ramamurthi was sort of multifaceted? He was kind of close to BTech students. He would even attend their weddings. He would do all sorts of things. So we put in this criteria that this particular candidate should be young, like in our kind of interactions. He should be, he as in he or she, so please don't worry about that part. And that person should be very interactive with undergraduates, sort of recognizing that special skill and trying to help them become leaders of tomorrow and things like that. So we put down a lot of criteria, and it's like in some sense, it's like a grandfather telling the grandson, I don't want anything, but I just want you to be a head of a company, most likely a president, and then this, that, and all that. So we asked a lot of things, and I think that led to a lot of confusion, and I think Bhaskar settled that confusion by saying we should call this something different. So we should call this a faculty fellow, and we should really launch a new program at IIT Madras recognizing junior faculty and calling them faculty fellow. So folks, what we have now is basically a mechanism for recognizing star junior faculty who potentially can qualify through teaching, academic research, industrial consultancy, and on top of it, interaction with undergraduates. The selection is through application, and it would be selected by a committee set up by the deans. So that when the Dean's Committee looked at it, they said that when we do a median analysis, then we should put down a few more criteria on this. So we put that criteria into it, and then we had the Board of Governors approval. So folks, what we have is a very standardized institution building protocol that we have set up. We didn't start that way, but we have ended up that way. So let's embrace it. And let's hope that all good ideas are going to be duplicated as Professor VR would like it, that there will be many, many more faculty fellows that will recognize junior faculty that will enrich our institution moving forward. So that is the way VR Chair came about, and VR Chair is through application. It's for 5 years, and the decision by the Dean's Committee will be made and announced on Alumni Day. So thank you for listening to this. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Dr. Gettu, Dr. Bhaskar Ramamurthi, and Dr. Anil to come to the stage for the signing of the MOU. I would like to invite Dr. Bhaskar Ramamurthi to say a few words.
Sujata and family members of Professor V. Ramamurthi, Professor Anil Kumar, I see a lot of friends here from my own batch. Sivaraman and I went to the same batch at IIT Madras, so I see batchmates. I see other colleagues. I see other connections which I see our Shiva here. I realize they're probably through family. Okay, so welcome to all of you for this wonderful function. As Anil was saying, the idea of the idea came, I think, from the students of Professor Ramamurthi that we should do something to encourage young faculty who are doing well, to give them a fillip, to give them a boost, to encourage them towards stardom. Why don't you sit down, Anil? Why don't you sit down somewhere? Yeah. And so, we have created these chair professorships to do the same thing for professors, because typically faculty become professors the median age of 45, and still about 20 years at least left here for formal retirement. So we wanted to do something to make sure that people still are running races after they have become professor. So that's how the chair professor scheme was conceived, and it's done very well in the last few years. It seems to be achieving its purpose. So then the idea came that why shouldn't we do that also for younger people, to make them run faster, encourage them to run faster. And of course there was we had to look at what to call it and how to do it and so on. So as Anil said, we went through many email exchanges and so on, and we found a way that fits into whatever we've been evolving and doesn't rock the boat, and yet seems to be framed in such a way that it has a good chance of achieving the purpose. So we're very happy to launch this new category, faculty fellow, and this is the first one. I'm sure there'll be many more. We recruit on average about 25 faculty per year, and that, unless there's any difficulty in hiring good faculty, that will continue for many years to come, because right now we are on a growth phase, but even by the time we complete the growth phase or taper off to a little bit, our retirement rates will come to almost that number. So we will be recruiting. So we're going to be recruiting 25, 30 people a year, and there's no reason why. From past data, we know that at least minimum of 5, 6, 7 of them are headed towards stardom. So there's no reason why you shouldn't give that a fillip from day one. It will be based on performance, it will be based on promise of achievement, and there will be a review process and all that. So we are all good at all that in this academic institution, so you needn't worry about that. I hope it achieves the purpose. I think I was able to only attend the last part of Anil's talk, but there's a lot of that kind of leadership building, character building, knowledge building that is going on here. We have this Center for Innovation, which is a maker lab, where students do a lot of this on their own. But a lot of work like this goes on also in various laboratories of the institute. Many more faculty now are involved in work which is multidimensional of this nature. And we allow our faculty the freedom to decide the several dimensions on which they want to grow: teaching, research, blue sky research, applied research, research that has societal impact, entrepreneurship, startups, student sector. The IITs are run a lot like a family, so people who have a knack, people who have flair for dealing with youngsters, they are willing to spend time and their energy and apply their skills to the student sector. All of this matters. We allow people to choose the mix, as long as people are, pushing themselves, striving for excellence and exceeding their own expectations. In any combination of these, we are very happy. We have a fairly flexible way of assessing, so I hope this faculty program also, faculty fellow program, gives a fillip to that. It's a very appropriate that the first faculty fellowship that's being announced is named after Professor V. Ramamurthi. Personally, I joined the institute in '86. He was already a stalwart here at that time. I happened to, I actually attended Shivaraman's wedding also, I think, around that period, very soon after I came back. But I really didn't know him, Professor Ramamurthy, before that, or even at that time. I don't even know if I recognized specifically that you were getting married to his daughter. I came, it was because it was your wedding. I don't know if I noted that even. But very soon after I started teaching here, I used to teach, among the courses, many courses I taught, I used to teach digital signal processing, and I found one of his students, PhD students, I don't know if she's here, Sujata, she's right here. She was in my class, so I said, who's this person turning up from mechanical engineering or applied mechanics? And so then she told me, then I went and met him and tried to understand what they are doing and so on, so that I could. And I also wanted to know what is her back, whether she had the prerequisites and so on. So I went and met him, and that's how I came to know. Then I used to go to him several times because I realized one can learn a lot from him, and I talked to him about industrial consulting. I've talked to him about various things. We have had chance to discuss various things later also, and because we were in some guest house together and so on. So I have a remarkable man, and one of the stalwarts of that generation in this institute. This is the second sort of, not the pioneer generation, but the one that followed pretty soon after that. And the institute is what it is today because of people like him. So it's very, very, and I also know the family very well. So for me, it's a very doubly joyous occasion, and I am very thankful to the alumni, the students of his who have thought through this carefully and created this in his name. I think it's a very, very apt, as I said, and I look forward to this fellowship actually encouraging a lot of good youngsters across the institute to scale new heights as he did in his time. Thank you very, very much.
When we were planning this program, we asked some of the donors and some of the students who remembered Dr. Ramamurthy to send us what they remembered. And we got a few really nice video tributes, which we'd like to show first. And then there are people in the audience I know who will come to speak about Dr. Ramamurthy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ram Devuru Sriram, and I'm a graduate of IIT Madras. When I first entered IIT in 1975, my uncle Professor Reddy, a colleague of Professor Ramamurthy in the early 70s, told me the first person that I should meet at IIT Madras is Professor Ramamurthy, a brilliant, kind, and a humble person. How right he is. As you all know, Professor Ramamurthy is not only brilliant, but humble, kind, and has an open door policy for all his students and colleagues. I interacted with him during my stay in IIT Madras, and he was always helpful to me and gave me excellent advice. And I kept in touch with him after I left IIT Madras too, and very happy that he's being honored today. When my uncle, Professor D.V. Reddy, heard about this, he told me that I should also send his best wishes and greetings on this very important day. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about Professor Ramamurthy, a kind, humble, and a brilliant person.
Greetings to all. I am Dr. M.G. Prasad, Professor Emeritus in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey, USA. I was a student in the Department of Applied Mechanics during 1972 to 74. In that time, one of my earliest courses that I took was vibrations from Dr. V. Ramamurthy. I remember his method of teaching, his clarity of presenting the very difficult concepts in mechanical vibrations are still fresh in my memory, and I do use it in teaching vibrations courses in my own department. He was not only giving the theory of mechanical vibrations with such a clarity, he was also bringing the applications, because we knew that he was also consulting at the same time to the industry, so he used to bring that example from his industrial experience and consulting experience. One example I still remember very clearly is in the area of dynamic absorber. And he was showing the example of the Stockbridge damper, which is so clear in my mind even at this time that I use it in my classes as an example to show for my students. It is to him that I owe the inspiring understanding that he was giving us in the area of mechanical vibrations.
I am Ravi Tyagarajan, and I am a senior research scientist at the U.S. Department of Defense. It is my great pleasure to say a few words on the occasion of the launch of the Dr. V. Ramamurthi Faculty Fellow Endowment at IIT Madras. I still distinctly remember the day that I met Dr. Ramamurthi in 1982 after his return from what was known as a highly successful project at NASA Lewis, where he was working on the thermovibration effects of the tiles on the underbelly of the space shuttle, which we were loosening as a result of the vibrations. Yet when we met him in his office, there he was, smiling, affable, cordial, nothing like the hotshot professor that we had expected to meet and encounter. And that's Dr. Ramamurthi for you. He was a great mentor, generous to a fault, and the gold standard for a mentor. As a teacher, he had this really uncanny ability to switch from extreme mathematical rigor of partial differential equations to being able to make things understandable to the most clueless of students. He was as pithy as he was pedantic, with a wicked sense of humor to boot. As a consultant, he was beyond compare. A steady stream of companies used to beat a path to his door, and he would often regale us with how he used to solve the most difficult of problems with the most commonsensical of solutions. So it's highly appropriate that this faculty fellow endowment is being set up today in Dr. Ramamurthi's memory, so that it may spawn generation upon generation of professors and teachers and researchers and consultants like him. There can be no better way to honor him and his accomplishments. I wish to thank Professor Anil Kumar from Vanderbilt, and also Dr. Ramamurthi's family, who worked very hard to make this happen, and to IIT Madras for setting up this really great concept of endowed professors, professorships and chairs. I thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Bilvanathan from the 1987 undergraduate mechanical engineering batch. Dr. Ramamurthi was our professor for machine dynamics, as well as my research professor during the final year. He was the most inspirational teacher for me. I really enjoyed his class as well as the research that I did with him. I really appreciate all the support and help that he provided. I really wish the very best for Dr. Ramamurthi Faculty Fellow Program. Thank you.
I need an assurance from you that you're going to stay for another 20 minutes, because we have 8 friends of ours who have volunteered and who are very eager to talk about their experiences with Professor Ramamurthi. The eighth person will have the highest challenge because he has to say something that's different from all the other 8 people, all the 7 plus 3, 10 plus 2, 12 people. So I am going to decide who is going to come first, who is going to come second. So hope that you will come early because it will get busy later. But please don't leave this place till we finish this because it's a mark of honor and also a mark of respect. So on that basis, I will probably allow Rama to be the first person to make the thing. So she's happy. So we'll start on a happy note and then we'll take it.
At the outset, on behalf of our family, let me thank IIT and the wonderful alumni for having taken the initiative to institute this fellow program. I thought it may be appropriate to speak a few words about the other side of professor, as my husband still addresses him, right? I think he anyway was first a professor and then a father-in-law. My father grew up in Annamalai Nagar, Chidambaram. His father was a very famous and illustrious man, the first registrar of Annamalai University, Rao Bahadur Vishwanath Iyer. So even in early childhood, the children, 7 of them in the family, must have faced extreme pressure to perform well, as their home was literally a hostel to several children of relatives and friends studying at the university. My grandfather unfortunately passed away in 1955 when my father was just around 15 or 17. He must have had a premonition about this, as I remember my father telling me that he found it extremely tough when his father dictated and made my father draft a will a few years before he passed away. How he trusted a young boy of 15 or so, neither the eldest nor the youngest of the family, to keep this a secret all these years, we do not know. Maybe my father also shared this in strict confidence with me, and I'm not sure if I'm letting the cat out of the bag now, but this just goes to show how much trust and faith his father had in a young boy. The reason I mention this is my father always felt it was important for children to get toughened by situations in life, and that would make them emerge stronger. There was no place for self-pity in this world. And that's how he brought us up. In 1956, he appeared for the IIT entrance examination. I'm sure many of you don't know this. Within months after his father's death, with whom he shared a deep rapport. He got admission into the one and only IIT, Kharagpur. It's a very, very sad and depressing story that there was nobody to accompany the young boy to Kharagpur for admission. Somebody got him an unreserved ticket to go to Kharagpur in a jam-packed train. He traveled standing near the toilet door for 8 hours and then took a firm decision to return to Annamalai Nagar. He got off the train and he returned. He continued his BE in mechanical engineering at Annamalai University. He cherished the admission into IIT Kharagpur and saved the admit card as a prized possession for many years. Subsequently, he graduated with an MTech from IIT Kharagpur and a PhD from IIT Madras and went on to be honored as a distinguished alumnus from IIT Kharagpur. He was very happy to receive this award from the then President Shri Pranab Mukherjee. It is important to note that in spite of receiving so many coveted awards like the Vasvik Award, the Import Substitute Award, or several other fellowships, Best Paper Awards from various ministers, Vice President, President, etc., what he valued most was being recognized as Best Teacher by the batch of 1980 BTech mechanical students. This was the first time under the directorship of Professor Indrasen that this was instituted as a student-led initiative, and he would always show that to people who came home visiting, that this was something that he really, really cherished, all through his life, right up to the end. 2 points that stand out about him right through our interactions with him. First one, Anil has already mentioned this, being a karma yogi, unwavering focus on A, his passion for teaching and research, and B, always solving industry-relevant problems. We used to see bits and pieces of paper on which he would continue working right through the day. We've seen that even after dinner, he would be working on something. Second one was creating an extended network of people beyond his primary work area and always staying in touch with them. I think his habit of making a daily journal entry helped here. Both these points helped him achieve such great heights and be widely recognized, He has been a visiting professor in several universities in the US, Canada, Kuwait, and Singapore. He has also served as a retainer consultant for well over 40 years and continued to consult until a few months before his passing away in 2016. He was 78 when he passed away, and how I wish we all could emulate that. He worked right until 78. One other key area that stood out was his extreme love and affection for his students. He was so involved with them that we, the immediate family members, knew his project students, whether it was BTech, MTech, or PhD, so well that we could recollect them by year after my father's passing away. My son and daughter greatly benefited from his constant interactions and mentoring. My son spent so much of his childhood discussing INSA scientists and their work when my father was writing the memoirs of these scientists for around 10 years post-retirement. The three of us have helped my father with technology when he was publishing his books in the later years and helped us get closer to him on the work front. My son Anirudh, BTech 2010 from IITM Computer Science, therefore could complete the INSA memoir of my father, retrieving information from my father's archive within hours after his death. That was his way of showing respect because my father worked 10 years putting together memoirs of other scientists. Anirudh has also subsequently dedicated his PhD dissertation work to his grandfather, and I humbly would like to announce here that that dissertation has won the SIGCOM award this year, and he is at Belgium now to collect that award. If my father was able to achieve so much in life, it was because of my mother's unwavering commitment to him and his work. She never let any work on the home or family front ever bother him. She was in absolute control and was a great pillar of support, more so during his last few months before his death. My husband Shivaraman, who happens to be my father's student, IITM 1980 Mechanical, has also been very supportive. It was pure divine intervention that my husband was relatively free during the last few months that my father was down with cancer and could spend a lot of time with him and the steady stream of visitors we had at home. It is unfortunate that my brother Dr. Vishwanath Ramamurthi, his wife and sons who live in San Francisco are unable to make it. He has also been extremely supportive of this initiative. On behalf of all my family members, I sincerely thank Dr. Anil Kumar, who was the face for us for the alumni group, the professor from Vanderbilt University, who has been the main person driving this initiative and conceptualizing the fellow program in this form and shape, aligned to principles that my father always stood for. I also thank IIT Madras for instituting this. I would like to thank all of you present here, his connects from the engineering industry such as KCP, TAFE, family, friends, relatives, alumni who are here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rama, for those good words. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if he stayed at Kharagpur doing a BTech? I think he might have gone into something different. I think we are lucky that he came back in that train. So on that note, my 7 other friends who are going to come here, please take no more than 2 minutes because I think we want to end on a very good note. Raghutam Rao?
Well, it's a solemn occasion, but I have very happy memories of VR, as we used to call him. You know, I was batch of 1984, and you heard Ravi Tyagarajan, you know, he was our batch topper. So he and VR were partners in crime, and let me share that here, where they got me into. So this was our 8th semester, and I was looking to, we could take electives, so we could how to boost my CGPA. You know, I was looking for some nice, easy courses. And so Ravi Shankar said there's a very easy course called Introduction to Vibrations, and it's an introductory course. And I met the prof, he's very good, he's just returned from NASA. You know, he will be soft, Americans are soft, and so he'll be... So we went, I was not convinced, so I said, let's go. You know, so it may be easy for Ravi Shankar, he was after all a gold medalist. So I went there, and VR was charming. So in 5 minutes, I didn't hear what the course was, I took it. And he also said it's going to be simple. So the first day in class, he put the title of the course. I was looking for vibrations and all that, and it said rotor dynamics. I neither understood rotor nor dynamics. So I said, what is this I've gotten into? And then he said, no, this is the course. But believe me, it was a wonderful course. I mean, Professor Ramamurthi, he was the most practical professor that I had seen in mechanical engineering. And in one of the courses, one of the classes, we had to do something with a crankshaft, and so I had not done it. So there was a box of grease. I put my hands and went in. So he said, "Will you please wash your hands and come?" I said, "Yes." "Will you go to the lab and actually get there, do the stuff and then show me your grease?" So he knew exactly, what students were and how it was. It was a most wonderful experience, going with Professor VR. I took a second course with him, and I'll forever cherish the memory. But Professor Bhaskar said, these are people who made the institute. But I would also go and say that people like Professor VR made people like us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raghutam. I won't ask you if you continued with rotor dynamics or anything like that. Hopefully you got to do that at a company level or something. Let's see. S. Krishna Kumar.
Friends, my association with Dr. Ramamurthi started in 1975 when I was sponsored by my employer, Larsen & Toubro, way back in 1975, till few months before his death. That was the interaction that I was having. I used to see him even during walking in Kasturba Nagar, because I stay in Adyar. Now, when I was in Larsen & Toubro, and then I tried to give him a lot of projects. One thing I wanted to just give you, because he has given me 2 minutes, only 2 minutes.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So, in the private industry like ours, Larsen & Toubro, generally by the end of the month, 25th or 26th of the month, we have got to complete invoicing for the month. So we used to have some 10 machines to go, and I was heading engineering R&D. And in one of the machines there will be a noise, a thud noise, an impact noise. Immediately I used to call Dr. Ramamurthi, because I didn't have any equipment to do accelerometer, or I didn't have any of the equipments there. So I used to call him even on a Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock and tell him that I would like to have this rectified today. I want to understand what is the problem and then rectify it, so that tomorrow I can invoice the machine, because there will be pressure on me from the management. So he used to say, "No problem at all, Krishna Kumar, come with the car. I will come with all the equipment." He used to prepare his people here in the applied mechanics department. So they used to carry that HBM resistance, the strain gauge measurement, and then accelerometers and all that. So we used to do the project overnight, and by morning 2 o'clock, he will know what is the result, what is the reason for the problem. So next day, I will get it corrected and the machine will go. So that is, I used to look at him as a person with knowledge, accuracy and speed. That kind of a speed I didn't see after Dr. Ramamurthi with some of the professors even in IIT Madras. I want to tell you that. So I used to take his classes. I used to ask him to come and speak in Lucas TV. I spent 46 years in R&D because of him. I started my career in engineering R&D in 1970, and he boosted me and made me take up R&D as my job, as my function. I retired finally as Senior Vice President, Lucas TVS, Engineering R&D. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna, for that special perspective from the industry side. I hope some of the guys out in your side of the industry can do this now that we are a slant around and help the industry. Sujata Chandramohan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm extremely happy to be able to participate in this function in honor of Professor V. Ramamurthi. I've had the privilege of being his doctoral student. I actually came with a background in electrical engineering, having done both my B.Tech and M.Tech in electrical engineering. It so happened that I got an opportunity to join the applied mechanics department, and he said I should do my PhD in applied mechanics, vibration, not have one foot in applied mechanics and another foot in electrical engineering. And I was initially a little hesitant because I didn't have any background in mechanical engineering, but he took it upon himself as a challenge to see that I would do a good piece of doctoral work in mechanical engineering in spite of my background. So I did do a good piece of work, and in spite of the fact that I was a married woman with commitments at home, I was teaching courses at IIT, I still managed to complete my PhD in 3 years, thanks to all the efforts he took. If anyone just came to talk to me, he would just stand there so that they would just squirm and leave immediately so that I would continue with my PhD work. He was actually the person who initiated me into vibration. And he was a very good teacher. He would simplify very complicated concepts into very simple ones. He would also ask us to give life to numbers. For instance, if you are talking of a stiffness of, say, 600 Newton per millimeter, he would say, don't just think of it as a number, but you could think of it as, the deflection in a suspended seat, when deflection of 1 mm, when a person of 60 kg is sitting on a suspended seat. So, that way you remember the physical meaning of these numbers. And his courses were very, very popular with BTech and MTech students alike. I remember there used to be a line of people wanting to do his BTech project with him. He was, as many people have already mentioned, very, very active in industrial consultancy and sponsored research. A lot of very meaningful projects in the machine dynamics lab of applied mechanics department were done under his leadership. And because he was active in consultancy, many of the projects that he gave to BTech, MTech, and PhD students were highly industrially relevant projects. It was like, getting 2 mangoes with 1 stone. So the student would do an industrially relevant project, and the industry would also get the results of the work. One thing which I would like to mention is that he was a stickler for punctuality. And even if someone turned up late by about 1 minute for a meeting, that would really throw him off. And he had a very, very high sense of commitment. Even if he went outside on consultancy work, if he wanted to visit a place, he would say, no, let us first finish the work, then let's go see the place that we want to. And he will always be remembered for his excellent contributions towards the field of vibration for many more years to come. And I'm extremely sorry that he's not here on this occasion. He would have been very, very happy had he been here. I remember that I had instituted, I had had a conference in his honor, NASDA in 1998, National Symposium on Dynamics in 1998, to honor him on the occasion of his superannuation. But it so happened that, the retirement age got extended to 62, and he continued, fortunately, to serve IIT for 2 more years. I've also known Professor Ramamurthi's family very well, because during the course of my PhD work, I had occasion to visit his place quite often, either to get some doubts cleared or whatever. And Mrs. Ramamurthi was always there ready with a cup of hot coffee and snacks, and she would inquire about my family. She's a very warm and considerate soul. And I would like to take this occasion to wish Professor Ramamurthi's family the best of health, prosperity, and God's grace in the years to come. Thank you.
Thomas, help me, man. I think you need to do it quickly. Thomas Theru.
Yeah, I would have to be brief. I'm here mainly because I must be the oldest of his students, because he joined in, I think, 66, and I graduated in 1969. He took a course in my third or fourth year called Advanced Topics in Applied Mechanics. And since he had some industrial experience, he worked for 3 years in KCP after his MTech. And his classes came alive. What I recall was that you could sense that he was not speaking out of a book, from a textbook. Just like Mariam said just now, you could really physically get the sense of what he was trying to convey. And that too, because must have been his first teaching experience. I thought it was remarkable, because the only people, the faculty who have inspired me are those who had practical experience. I mentioned others like Dr. Scheer and okay. And also I continued, I stayed in Adyar, so I came to know his family also in the last few years of his life is to keep in touch with him. And I think he'll be very happy, and he was in fact happy that I remained an engineer throughout my life. I had nothing to do with management, nothing to do with computers even. A pure mechanical engineer. You give me nuts and bolts, I'm very happy. And I used to visit him occasionally, and we used to discuss our common problems, because I was also doing some kind of work with different companies, and he used to tell me about his problems, and he used to lament, of course, the way academics and some of the problems in industry which he used to face. But we had a lot of good discussions. I think I'll stop with that and let the others have a go. Thank you.
Friends, I am kind of an odd man out here because I did not have the good fortune of being a student of Professor Ramamurthi. Okay, though I've heard tributes paid by my fellow students during my course as well as many years thereafter. So I conjured him as a very formidable, stern person, obviously, because of the reputation that he carried. My first interaction with him was when I joined ITC and was a colleague of Shivaraman, and he had come there because it's a colony, and he had come there to meet his family, and there was a social occasion. And the first thing that struck me was the simplicity and the humility and the ease with which I could, share my experience with him. And I felt as if I knew him or he knew me all my life. So that was something that taught me, it's a memorable lesson on, human character. Many years later, I was head of operations at ITC Tribeni, and we had certain problems in the factory. A shaft of a machine was breaking down, and there was a lot of downtime, and every hour cost 2 lakhs in that place. And he had come as a consultant, and he made me proud of being a mechanical engineer, because he said, look, we are mechanical engineers. He's put me in the same bracket. And he went under the machine with something I had not done in 8 years there. And he's had the energy of a teenager at that time. I was quite amazed. I said, look, what am I doing here? And within a matter of hours, he had taken readings and given us solutions. And I said, look, how did you do it? He said, look, it's MS Excel, That was the humility of the man. He said, many years, it used to take me days. Today, with MS Excel, I can do it in few hours, right? And so that's the reason I'm here, and I'm proud to be associated with this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandu. I think the good thing is we are coming towards the end of the program, and Sivaraman, this is your assigned time.
Okay, since time is really short, I'm going to cut off 2 pages of what I've written, and I'm going to speak only one particular thing that touched me. I was the family member who first came to know that my dear father-in-law was suffering from cancer. Okay, it took me some time to come to terms with it, but once I came to terms with it, I realized in the few months that I had with him that I could come in contact with a different section of society which had not touched me so till then. There were the doctors with whom we became very close, and there have been students of whom, streams of them. In fact, I was just telling Professor Anil Kumar, 13th of August 2016 is when I met Professor Anil Kumar and his wife at our place to pay respects to my father-in-law. It was just 2 years from then, and life has taken a different turn. Many people came to pay respects to him, and I'll just narrate one incident for the benefit of all of you. Professor Kaushik Bhattacharya, whom Professor Anil Kumar talked about, has sent this letter to my mother-in-law after he passed away. I'm just going to narrate what he had written. An incident that happened to Professor Kaushik Bhattacharya, batch of 1986, in his young days as a student of IIT Madras. We had those IBM 370 machines, and the problems people would go, they write a software in Fortran, have the cards punched, and then hand it over to the computer center and have the report gathered. All this would take a week to 10 days, and you would get a great sense of satisfaction when you have the report in your hand. And Kaushik, the young Kaushik, then had this report for the problem that my father-in-law had set. And he walked up to my father-in-law and showed him the result, and it's with a sense of satisfaction that he had solved the problem with this computer program. Okay. The beauty is that what Professor Kaushik wrote in that letter is Professor Ramamurthi took a minute to glance through the report and said, "You're missing something." So the young Kaushik, completely deflated, after spending so much of time in writing this program, didn't realize what hit him. He says, "I don't stop here because Professor Ramamurthi is a different person. He sat with me, explained to me, went through the steps and said what you have missed. And I learned engineering then." One of the sentences that is quoted in that letter, "Best computers cannot replace engineering instinct." So Professor Kaushik goes to say that this incident is what has taught him engineering, and he narrates this year after year to the many students of his at Caltech, where he is a senior professor. He says, also he's written a line which touches me too much. Sometimes I may break down. Professor Ramamurthi lives in all our minds through the generations of his students all over the world. This is the words of Professor Kaushik Bhattacharya, and I can't help but break down. Thank you very much, IIT Madras, alumni, industry, well-wishers, students, relatives, all of you for making this function memorable and giving us an opportunity to give something back to this institute. Thank you very much.
So we have reached towards the end, the last person, Sujata Srinivasan.
So I have the unenviable task of saying something different. Professor Ramamurthi taught me dynamics of machinery in my 5th semester here. And so we used to call him, our nickname for him was Dom Rom, Dom for dynamics of machinery. And he was an excellent teacher, of course. And because of his, it's a fun course actually, and talks about machines and mechanisms and things that move. So it was something that was very enjoyable, and because of his extensive industry experience, he was able to bring a practical dimension to it that made it really fascinating for me. So I considered it an honor when I came back to IIT as faculty that I got to teach that course. And in fact, his granddaughter-in-law was in my class of KDOM. So it was kind of coming around. What goes around comes around. In fact, to this day, I still have his notes from 28 years ago. For me, as a girl student in mechanical engineering, it was a mixed bag. I enjoyed the subjects, but it was very lonely. I was the only girl in a class of 60, and the boys in my class basically just ignored me. So Professor Ramamurthi was the first and possibly only faculty who realized that I may have some unique challenges because of my situation. And he went out of his way to help me however he could. I recall an incident when I walked to class in the pouring rain and I find nobody is there. And so then I trudged along to his office and asked him, "Sir, don't we have class today?" So he said, "Didn't you know? I canceled class." So I said, "Nobody told me." So the next class, when he came to class, the first thing he did was pull up the entire class. And he said, this is not the way you treat another person just because they're in a different hostel. So that empathy really meant a lot to me. He was an excellent teacher, no doubt, and but to me, what made him great was this empathy. And my enduring memory of him will be the fact that he was a teacher who cared. And so I'm really happy to be here to think of him today and to share this with you all. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Mayor, you want to talk? Yeah. I think it's just us as a family. We'll keep it going. Students, are you okay for another few minutes? Or you guys need an award for staying through all this. I'm telling you, you will get some awards in the future.
Friends, I think I wanted to share a few things. I knew him as a faculty colleague here. I joined a civil engineering department, and we had a lot of problems which comes from industry. So being a civil engineer, and the source of the problem is mechanical parts. Okay, so they always say the building is undergoing a lot of vibration, so you have to solve for the things. In fact, we had wonderful experience. In most of the times, there is also ego clash between civil engineers and mechanical engineers. We'll blame each other. And we used to solve many of those problems. I particularly remember some of the problems in Ramagundam power station, thermal power station, Neyveli Lignite Corporation especially, and so many other things. One more thing is, he used to like me because our batch rated him as the topmost things, because they rated him with everyone giving 100%, okay, which is rare. So as a teacher, he always remembered, oh, you belong to Narasimhan's class, or they gave me the things there. So, and then he also used to share, he's very punctual. He used to be here at 7:45, and he used to make a comment. People staying in this campus don't know the value of time, neither do they know the value of what institute is giving. Because if the moment you go out, you have to pay your water bills, you have to do all these things. And he was staying in Adayar, he used to say, hey, the faculty here are too pampered. He's also a faculty, president of Faculty Association in a turbulent time, okay. He co-opted me as one of the members of the committee. That's how I came to work with him very closely, share some of the ideas. He's very jovial and very open and very direct, okay, and which is very rare. A person of his stature sometimes being so direct is not imaginable, but he was very truthful and very correct, and we all loved him, and we really miss him in a way. But I think he lives on in our memories. I wish most of the professors are like him in our institute. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I still feel that I should ask once more if there is anybody else who wants to say a few words. Anybody else? Okay, Sujata, I think the floor is yours. I think we just ran by 20 minutes, but it was probably really, really worth it. And very good, very good. I think we can conclude the program unless you have... Okay, I'll do that for you. Okay, I'll take 1 extra minute for you to come up. So I'm going to thank everyone by first thanking Sujata. Okay. There are 3 Sujatas, but I thank this Sujata today, okay? So this is, don't they have too many other names or what? That's what Dr. Ramamurthi would say. Okay, so basically, I think we don't need to thank any of the alumni for the contribution as much as the fact that they want to remember the professor, and this happens to be the avenue for it. So I think remembering Professor VR is really the peak thing. And the one lesson that we may want to convey to the future generations is, folks, things are changing, but the boundaries of IITM are fixed. And the professors are, to a large extent, as Bhaskar was saying, they only take 25 new professors every year. So make it a point to remember professors who made a difference in your lives, because I think the question we always want to ask is, why are we better off, and who should we thank? But also make it a point to seek out those professors and do something very useful during your stay. Don't just keep mugging for those exams and things like that. So that would be my advice. And on that basis, I think if you all allow me, we can close this program on a happy note. Subbu, thank you very much. And I think though this may not be the occasion to thank people, but certain people have played a very strong role in this thing. They have burnt literally the midnight hours to make sure everything matches to the last cent. So I want to thank Shweta Bhupati right here. Shweta, big hand for Shweta, okay? I think I couldn't put a face to that person, but I tried to Google around, but the real person is a million times better than that. What I'm saying is she's really the person that has played a very important role. Subbu has an extraordinary good team. I'm sure he's doing a great job. And I think the best thing that can happen to our development office is alumni come forward with interesting projects and take pride through projects and come up with new ideas. And we will be that school of excellence that we want to be, because ideas are what run the world. Money comes second. And I think at the end of the day, Subbu will agree, money can be found, but I think we need good ideas to be the horse in front of the cart. The cart will come along. And I think ideas can bring people together and make our setup really famous. And we do hope that faculty have free time to come up with newer and newer ideas. Because as I said, out there, after we cross the boundaries, it is only the ideas that will be appreciated and the impact that will be measured. So let's keep that ball rolling. Thank you.